Morning. It's another edition of the Ben Garcia Show, and the Phoenix Suns might just be so back. Talk to you guys in a second.
The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like calluses. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. The Ben Garcia Show.
What is up, guys? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. I'll be honest with you guys. I am officially tired. I didn't get to bed till like 1 last night. So I'm going to be honest with you. Some of this energy is a little artificial on this beautiful Thursday morning. I got my guy Michael, Aaron, Sandman in the chat. Aaron, I got to be honest with you. Ryan Dunn actually starting next week? Mike Budenholzer, none of his rotations have made any sense all year long. So although I would think Ryan Dunn is going to start, I can't promise you if he's actually going to, because nothing makes sense at times with Budenholzer. I appreciate you guys being here, making this show a part of your day. Ivan in the chat as well here this morning. Sandman, not against Cleveland. That's probably true, but let me have the next 36 seconds of some sort of semblance of being happy for this team. Guys, follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. Appreciate you guys making me a part of your day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, potentially even tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show if you want to. Maybe you just want to keep this all to your grimy little self, then you can do that. I gotta be honest with you guys, before we really get into the craziness that was another good win for the Phoenix Suns last night against the Bulls, but we're still gonna overreact because that's what we do on this show. That's what's fun to do. Just story time. I signed someone's shoe last night. Someone, her name was Chloe, very, very nice woman, came up to me, asked me to sign her shoe, and I went down and met her, and I wasn't going to say this on Locked On Suns because it sounds way too, cocky or whatever, but on the Ben Garcia Show, why not? I think it is kind of funny. She said, you're, so famous. And my response to that was, I'm not even the most famous person on Locked On Phoenix Suns. So it was definitely an interesting game and story last night. It was a very nice person, and it is so fun to always run into people who watch my content, who see me on Locked On Phoenix Suns. I was at Chipotle a couple of weeks ago, and I'm ordering, and the guy goes, "Is your name Ben?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "I think I watch you on TikTok." It's like the coolest thing in the world. So people are starting to watch, notice, and everything is great. And if I ever see any of you guys out in the wild, stop me. I will say hello, and I will do it for an extended period of time because I absolutely love talking to people who listen to any form of my content or my content on Locked On Phoenix Suns. All right, guys. Let's go here. The Phoenix Suns get another win, a back-to-back win for the first time since January. I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know how to dive deep in the Phoenix Suns winning a game, winning back-to-back games against the Raptors and against the Chicago Bulls. It's not exactly something to write home about. But it does feel like these past two wins are a little different. Am I overreacting and potentially talking about the Suns making a run in the playoffs? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The only way the Suns can make a run in the playoffs is if they somehow squeeze out of the play-in, but they get the 7th seed and they're able to play whoever the 2 seed is, and then that 2 seed has a couple of injuries. It's the only way. And then in the second round, the next team also has to have injuries. But it is nice to see the Suns have a little bit of fight, because a couple of days ago, it did look like the Suns were just rolling over and dying against the Los Angeles Lakers. And so what we've seen over the past 2 games is nothing short of a breath of fresh air. And people will say, and I will totally agree with them, Toronto Raptors, Chicago Bulls, okay. But what I'll say to that is, Suns were playing these types of teams, and the way they were playing games was not like it was the last 2 nights. Or I guess I should say the last 2 games. The Suns just lost to the Raptors a couple of weeks ago. They barely beat the Hospital Mavericks. And they go out and they beat both of these teams, the Bulls and, of course, the Raptors, and they do it pretty handily. I was never worried about the Bulls coming back and winning that game last night. Sure, I guess it got a little dicey, but I was never worried about it. This Suns team beat up 2 teams back-to-back in back-to-back games. They have not done that all year. Outside of that first 9-game stretch, and I don't even know if they did that then. A lot of those were clutch wins. So you ask yourself, what's different? Why does the energy feel different? Why is there a different infectious mentality for this team? And I know people love to point the finger at Bradley Beal and say, oh, the Suns are just better without him. I find it hard to believe the Suns are not better with a $50 million player on the court, but the statistics say they are. And obviously Grayson Allen, Mason Plumlee, Bradley Beal, those 3 guys did not play last night. And you ask yourself, what was different about the past couple of games? Why are the Phoenix Suns playing with a type of tenacity we haven't seen all season? They're actually getting after it. And I know that's not a insane thing. Sam, that's a great way to put it. The Suns walked through the whole season. The last 2 games, it did not feel like they walked. And the reason why it is something of note, not a team that's going to do much in the playoffs, but something of note is because of this. They played the Nets earlier this year, and they got ran out of the building. They played the Raptors, got ran out of the building. We haven't seen them play with this kind of tenacity. And you're like, what is it? I'm not ready to blame Bradley Beal for the Phoenix Suns being better the past couple of games. What I am willing to do is give credit to other players. The Suns are playing the rookies more often. And it's why I went on Locked On Phoenix Suns, and me and Brendan were arguing about Oso going over to the G League. And I had said, why? If the Suns had even a middle-of-the-pack center group, I guess I'd understand him going to the G League. But the Suns' center rotation has always been abysmal this year. Nick Richards, I was right on that. He's someone that's fine, but he's a backup center. Nurkic, there's no way Oso was that much worse than Nurkic. I think he's even better. And then Mason Plumlee, again, at that point of the season was cross your fingers. What's making the Suns a team that is actually playing with some fight is the rookies and Cody Martin, the unsung heroes of this team in the last couple of games. And it makes you think, if they were playing like this earlier in the season, would it have changed anything? And I don't know the answer to that. But it is interesting to think of. Because all year long, we were discussing the Phoenix Suns being a team that is not trying their hardest recently. In fact, it goes so much to the point where you wonder if they even care at all to be out there. But when you throw out guys like Ryan Dunn, Cody Martin, Oso Ighodaro, guys that don't have guaranteed careers in the NBA, who play with an infectious energy that other players want to replicate, that's what the Suns have been missing all year long. It's not a point guard. It's not a center. It's not a 3-and-D wing. Although, of course, some of those things would be helpful. What this Suns team needed all along was just some guys that would play with some passion and would play with some energy. They haven't had that all year long. And that's what Oso and Ryan Dunn have been providing over the past couple of games. And you ask yourself, too, what was Coach Bud doing? Leaving these two guys on the bench. My guy, Brendan Clean, last night went through all the rookies in Coach Bud's career, and he just doesn't play them. But that's not a good enough reason when you have a team that's not very good and that could use some semblance of a spark. And it's not just Ryan Dunn and Oso Ighodaro. I think Cody Martin has made 4 shots in his career as a Phoenix Sun, combining all of the games he's played. I think he's made 4 shots. And I still want to see more of him. Because the energy that he plays with, crashing the boards, going after lateral quickness, defensively, a pest, kind of Matthew Dellavedova, Josh Okogie-ish. I think he's a complete liability on offense. But defensively and grabbing boards and just running up and down the court, trying hard. That's infectious. And other players see that. KD, Devin Booker, whoever it is that's playing on the court. Those guys are seeing what the young guys and Cody Martin are doing. And they want to also replicate that. That's what it is. And the biggest thing for Bud over the past couple of weeks where you're evaluating his future is, why were these guys sitting on the bench? Why? Why weren't they trying to get Cody Martin out there faster than they did? That is something that you have to hold against Bud. Because you could talk about his history with rookies and how he doesn't like to play them, but that doesn't cut it. You have a team that is spiraling the drain. You needed those guys. Aaron in the chat saying, as a Bucks fan, I know Bud can infuriate you, but you should trust the process. I'll be honest with you. I'm advocating for Bud to stay. I don't have a good reason for him to stay, to be honest with you, because he's been largely lackluster all year long. But I just don't want to fire another head coach. Truly, I just don't want to fire another one. I don't know who would take this job after Bud. At least anyone with some sort of record of or reputation of being a good head coach. Moving on to some of the Arizona Cardinals things. You know, I'll be honest with you. I almost talked some baseball today, but it just didn't feel right yet. It felt a little forced. And what I won't do with talking the Arizona Diamondbacks this year is it's not going to be forced. It's not going to be like, oh, I haven't talked about the Diamondbacks yet. I don't care about that. We'll talk, obviously, opening day. We'll talk Corbin Burns. I am a little upset that Jordan Lawler and Dre Jameson are headed back to Reno. But I thought this was more interesting. And as we get later on in the week with these shows, there's just not a ton of things to talk about because it's the offseason. Now, when the NFL draft gets a little bit closer, things are going to pick up once again. But I saw this the other day on social media when it comes to the Arizona Cardinals. And we'll be quick here. But it goes part of all the things I've been talking about with Monty Ossenfort and with the things the Arizona Cardinals have been doing. The Cardinals, after signing Dalvin Tomlinson, which is actually a cheaper contract than, roughly a little bit cheaper. It's like a couple million cheaper than what was wildly reported after the Josh Sweat deal, after the Dalvin Tomlinson deal. They have $45 million in cap space. And what the Arizona Cardinals need, I thought they were going to make a play for Asante Samuel Jr. But what I do trust about Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rawlis, especially Gannon here, his specialty is defensive backs. He elevates the floor of defensive backs and helps them reach new heights in the NFL that they've never been a part of before. So if they don't want Asante Samuel, I trust them. Jonathan Gannon, a former defensive back coach, I get it. This defense, as I've mentioned before, is better. There's no way Josh Sweat and Dalvin Tomlinson will be worse than what they had before. What I will say is, could they be free agency busts? Of course. But there's no way they can be worse than what the Cardinals already have. This defense is fine, but we've got to continue to add more to it. We cannot be talking about next year the defense giving up 50 points a game because Monty Ossenfort didn't want to continue to be aggressive. Now, you're not going to spend all $45 million of that because you got to re-sign Trey McBride, which they will absolutely do. I believe those kind of extensions come later on in the year. I'm not worried about that at all. But the defensive backs for this group, they need an older leader. And whether it's Jair Alexander, whether it's Denzel Ward, that's a guy that the Arizona Cardinals need. Now, the only thing about Jair Alexander that is a little worrisome is he is a little bit more about himself than he is about the team. To be fair, I believe as a cornerback, you have to have that delusional confidence because you have to believe you are the greatest thing ever because you are going up against Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson, some of the best wide receivers in the NFL, some of the best athletes in the NFL. I don't get upset with them gassing themselves up because you got to be psyched out to go up against some of these dudes. So what I will say is, with $45 million left on the cap, I understand that first wave of free agency is done. The big money, guys getting clearly overpaid. But there's still move to be done. I obviously, the Micah Parsons thing is just probably not going to happen. I haven't heard anything on that. Trey Hendrickson, it looks like he's going to continue to be a Cincinnati Bengal, or he's going to hold out. You got to be aggressive. You got to be aggressive if you're the Cardinals. And when you see guys out there that can help, again, elevate the floor of this defense, you just got to go do it. And when you see Denzel Ward out there, a guy who's probably a cap casualty, still a younger player, but when you're paying Myles Garrett $40 million a year, you want to go get that guy. See if they're willing to move on from him. Jair Alexander. I don't know if he exactly fits the culture of the Cardinals, but they need a guy that would elevate the floor. I love using that word because I don't think there's any way this defense can be a top 5 defense in the NFL. Raising the ceiling is different. That's what Myles Garrett, that's what those type of guys do. Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, Trey Hendrickson. But go get one of those guys. This defensive back room is still really young. And I love Garrett Williams. Starling Thomas, solid. Max Melton, solid. And maybe they feel good about it. But they still need a linebacker. CJ Mosley is out there. Kaiser White is still out there. These are moves you have to make. Because right now, it's just a bunch of guys. And you need dudes, not just guys. So, we'll see where the Arizona Cardinals decide to go. But it was baffling to me yesterday when I looked at how much cap space the Arizona Cardinals have. $45 million, which is an absurd amount of money if that's what they just started with to start free agency. But this is the money they have post-signing Dalvin Tomlinson, Jacoby Brissett, Josh Sweat. And it's like, I get not being reckless, but have some sort of fun. And this team needs to go out there and do that. Because they have needs defensively that still need to be filled. And I'm worried about some things on offense. Do they have a wide receiver too? I'm not 1,000% sure. I'm not of the belief that I'm just going to buy into Michael Wilson because I really like him. I think he's very good, but is he better suited as a 3 than a 2? I don't know. But these are the types of things that separate you from being a playoff team and a team that misses the playoffs as a whole. All right, guys, thank you so much for making me a part of your day. I am clearly dying over here, meaning I am so tired, but I am so thankful to be here to have a group of guys to sit here, talk sports with, and sign shoes sometimes. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. Guys, reminder, we are a Monday through Thursday show, so no show on Friday. Every Monday through Thursday, 6 a.m., 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for making me a part of your day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, follow me on all social media platforms. And until Monday, it's been the Ben Garcia Show.